I don't remember if it was Shakespeare that said absence makes the heart grow fonder, or where that quote came from. Maybe you know who said that.
I think that Judy Locke actually
Judy Locke said that. Well, she would know after these last few weeks because we have been separated.
And
welcome back to the locker room.
Thank the Lord.
We've missed you. I've missed you. I've missed you. We've been running and going all different directions, it seems like. So we've taken several weeks off of the locker room, but we wanted to get back together, kind of recap what's gone on
and
what we can look forward to.
We are like fresh back together.
We really are. I mean, You spent time, we'll just jump through quickly. You went to Colorado.
Yeah.
We had a pulpit swap. Keith
went to
Baldridge
preach.
was here from Livingstone Church.
One of our church plants, and Keith Baldridge and I swapped pulpits, which was, we both just enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then Judy and I took about 3 extra days while we were out there to kind of celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary. It was such a beautiful part of the country. She'd never been to Colorado before, and so we did some mountain hiking and just had a great time. So we went from there on mountain time back here for just a couple of days.
Yeah.
Turned right around and flew to the Eastern time zone for the Southern Baptist Convention.
Which was in Orlando.
And then on Thursday, the convention ended on Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning, I flew direct from Orlando to Nashville. Judy, who, because of all of this back and forth, did not accompany me to the convention, joined me in Nashville. So she flew direct from Pensacola to Nashville, and we tried to time it to get to the Nashville airport about the same time, which we had it like within a half an hour. And her flight was delayed, and she was about an hour and a half late. My flight was early, and I ended up being about 30 minutes early, so I had to kill about 2 hours in the Nashville airport waiting for her. Now we're on Central Time Zone again.
Back home, yeah.
That's right. And then we got in last night. Thank you for coming to retrieve us at the airport.
Happy to do.
Jim had to come and get us. And then so many planes. I couldn't believe how jam-packed. I know Sunday people are getting back home and it's summertime.
Yeah.
The Nashville airport was a blessed zoo. People everywhere. Get to Pensacola in early evening, 6:30-ish or so.
Yeah.
Pushing 7 o'clock. Packed. The terminal at Pensacola was jammed up with people.
Yeah.
And they told us, a guy came on the plane as we were trying to deplane and said, we've had so many planes coming in at the same time and so many getting ready to go out, we don't have enough baggage equipment to load and unload. So your bags are going to be delayed getting to the carousel. Just go down there, try to relax. We'll get to them quickly as we can. Well, you knew when we landed because I had texted you. And I guess we waited over an hour just to get our bags. So, and then VBS starts this morning, you know, at the crack of dawn.
Back at it, yeah.
So we're, our body is in shock right now just from all these time zone changes. So we're glad to be home for a little bit of time. We'll be taking some like legit downtime, vacation time, more toward the end of July. But we've got some time where we can just get back into our normal routine, which I'm a creature of anyway. So good to be back for sure.
I thought for this episode we'd take a little bit, just kind of highlight some of those things that you mentioned. So for starters, preaching up in Colorado at the Livingstone, we've had an ongoing relationship with them. Just again, briefly, but speak to the priority of church partnerships, church planting, that idea of, some people look, there's a church on every corner, but we're still actively starting new churches. Why is that a good thing to do and a good thing for us as Hillcrest to be involved with and connected to make new churches all around the country?
Yeah, this has become and is a critical priority of Hillcrest, engagement in church planting, going to critical unchurched regions of our country. And that's especially true in the western United States, where we have and are sponsoring a church in Las Vegas, your church, Pastor Jack Diven, and then for a number of years, Livingstone in Denver. And I can tell you, having been out there a couple of times, there is not a church on every street corner in metropolitan Denver, Colorado. You have to look and search to find an actual church structure. And Living Stone will soon have one. So we had the privilege of we no longer financially support them, though we did for 6, almost 7 years, and then made a significant contribution at the end of last year to go toward their building program. They had a matching grant type of situation, and so we were able to give what amounted to about a $52,000 contribution to go toward their building. So we have a vital relationship. Keith, who preached here that Sunday, has a connection and for a vacation spot over in Panama City area. And so he put a bug in my ear about swapping pulpits as he had a week scheduled in Panama City. And so I took advantage of that, even though we've been to their church before. Doug has been at least once, and I've been once. Would never have had the opportunity to preach in their congregation. So we swapped pulpits. That was just great. Yeah. Had a great time at the church. They have met in a school and are meeting in a school now. But it's a very nice high school auditorium, kind of a not like you and I had in school.
Right.
This is more of one of those stadium type seating, with cushioned seats, and not those old plywood type.
We met in the gym in our school. So.
Yeah. We weren't much above that. Yeah. We did have an auditorium, but it was far from comfortable. This is very nice. But every time they move, they sacrifice people that they reached.
Because where they're located,
I mean, sometimes it might be a 10 or 12 mile difference.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose people. So they gain people, and if they have to move, then they lose people, gain some more. So they're looking forward to having, moving, as I've said, tongue-in-cheek, from the tabernacle to the temple, having a consistent space to meet, which is going to be very nice. They've got the land. Hopefully we'll break ground in October. But we had a wonderful time with their church. Their church was very friendly and welcoming, great worship experience, opportunity to preach, and so it was a good time. And he did a fine job here, as he has
One
before.
thing that's fun about Keith is he brings the presence, and I say that in a good way. When he shows up, he acts and he feels like he belongs. He's very comfortable in it. I think he gives a great message. Now, I will get on him a little bit, because I think when he was preaching here, it was probably 92 or 93 degrees in Pensacola, Florida. And my brother wore layers of clothes in the pulpit.
He wore here what he wears up there.
I said, bro, he said, it's so hot and humid. I said, it is. You may want to lose some of that, because he was sweating by the time it was done. But we love Keith.
I think the humidity nearly ate him alive. And out there, of course, it's pretty dry air. And but the thing about it is, after a day or two or three, my skin started to get dry, and itchy, and which it never does here because of the humidity. So it definitely was different all the way around, but a great time was had by all.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's talk Southern Baptist Convention for a little bit, because there's some highlights out there. There's some headlines. Just a quick. A lot of you may know this, but some of you don't, and that's okay. I just want to educate a little bit. So the Southern Baptist Convention itself meets for 2 days every year, and that location moves around the country typically each year.
Right.
When that meets, that's the gathering of the Southern Baptist Convention. Can you talk a little bit about that structure and how it's not necessarily a top-down organization, but kind of a bottom-up, if you will?
That's right.
How it's put together.
Well, and that's a good way to put it. I think most people think that the Southern Baptist Convention operates much like, say, the United Methodist Church or the Roman Catholic Church or the Anglican Communion. All of those are pretty much top-down organizations where there is a sense of leadership, direction, even control at the very top of the denominational hierarchy that filters down to the church. Well, in the Southern Baptist Convention, that's flipped on its head. The individual local church is the authority in the Southern Baptist Convention. So the churches basically instruct the convention what to do, not the other way around. The Southern Baptist Convention is actually a meeting. It's a once-a-year meeting, meets for 2 days, preceded 2 days by the Pastors' Conference of the Southern Baptist Convention. So most of us who go are typically there about 4 days. Lots of preaching and worship on the front end, mostly business during the latter 2 days, which are the 2 days of the annual meeting of the Southern Baptist Convention. And it's held, as you indicated, in churches, or in cities rather, that have the capacity to host a really large number of people gathering. And with as many people as we have going, I think this year there was, and I'm rounding, 12,000 registered messengers from churches all over the country, and then somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 registered guests. Guests may attend, but they cannot vote. So you have to be approved by your church to be a voting messenger, to receive a ballot book that enables you to speak into the issues, participate in the election of officers, and any other business that actually comes to a floor vote. So, there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 17,000, 18,000 people running around, which is a lot of people, meeting this year in the Orange County Convention Center there in Orlando. We'll meet in Indianapolis next year, and then at other places geographically around the country, some in the South, some in the center of the country, some out west every 5 or 6 years or so. So we met in Orlando this year, and it was a good meeting.
Good. Now, the headline was kind of coming out through social media, and I'm going to kind of state it and then let you speak to it. So the big headline was the Southern Baptist Convention approves a change to the Constitution of the convention. And that change added a line which says that to be in cooperation, to be a part of this convention, your church cannot ordain women as a pastor, elder, overseer, or one who, for example, preaches to the assembled congregation in that function of that role. Now, this is something that's been talked about for several years, but the big difference this year was that this got voted in. It had to be a 2/3 vote to get approved to continue down the process. Can you talk a little bit about the motion and what it means, and maybe what it doesn't mean? Because that's been a lot of the headlines that I've seen.
That's right. And one thing I would caution everyone is to beware of news that's reported about what the Southern Baptist Convention did or did not do, either in the mainstream media and especially on social media, because most of the time that's significantly slanted the wrong way, or it's just out and out not true.
Yeah.
This has especially been true in the past couple of years in the mainstream media that just flat out got what they were reporting wrong.
Yeah.
And so one has to be very careful about that. And again, if anybody, particularly in the context of Hillcrest, has questions about that, come to one of your pastors who went.
Yeah.
Because we got the goods. You can get better information here than you can on the parking lot, right? True. As the old saying goes.
Yeah.
So we'll happily address that. This is nothing new with respect to women as ordained pastoral leaders within the church. It's come up the past 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. It has not reached the supermajority level vote necessary to encode it into the Constitution and bylaws of the Southern Baptist Convention. However, a part of the reason that people may not necessarily have voted to support that had nothing to do really with the issue of women as pastors.
Yeah.
It had to do with just a more of a procedural type statement that basically said, we just don't think it needs to be in the Constitution. What we have, as stated in the Baptist Faith and Message, which is the fundamental statement of faith for the Southern Baptist Convention, mm-hmm. is sufficient for that end. And that's proven to be so over the last several years, because we have basically ruled several churches that have made a practice of ordaining women to the pastoral ministry. We have declared them not in friendly cooperation with the convention, which means that their church doesn't cease to exist as a church. The convention doesn't have that authority.
Yeah.
Churches can do whatever churches want to do.
Right.
It just simply means you can't send voting messenger to the annual meeting of the Southern Baptist Convention because your messengers won't be recognized. That's basically what that means. You're not in friendly cooperation with Southern Baptist Convention churches. So this year, that same issue, just different people keep bringing it up because there is, the great majority of people want it changed in the bylaws. And so people keep bringing it up. This year, it did cross the 2/3 threshold. Mm-hmm. It received 75% vote positive, but it has to be approved at 2 successive meetings. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to change Constitution and bylaws, and it should be, both at the convention level. It's difficult to change it at Hillcrest,
right?
And it should be. The system is designed to slow things down and encourage debate. So that was a supermajority this year, which means it will come up again for a vote next year. And if that vote crosses the 2/3 supermajority a second time at the 2027 annual meeting, then that language will be encoded into the Constitution and bylaws. And the thought process is, by having it in the Constitution of the Southern Baptist Convention, it just adds an additional layer of force. Mm-hmm. Because part of the problem is those denominations who have opened themselves up to female pastoral leadership have, without exception, drifted leftward into fundamentally theological liberalism. Mm-hmm. And we just simply don't want that to happen in the Southern Baptist Convention. So this is a step in the direction of preserving biblical orthodoxy in the Southern Baptist Convention. That, I believe, is a good thing. So, it's not a statement against women.
Well, that's what I was going to follow up with. Is that, so women may not be ordained as pastors, according to this now new motion for the Constitution. Does that mean women are not eligible to serve in ministry?
Not at all.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that much of this, as a pastor friend of mine says, basically is words. Because we have a system that guards against that already, as the language in the Baptist Faith and Message qualifies pastoral leadership in our churches to biblically qualified men, which is right. And so this is really, in one sense, it's really not a change. It's just an additional layer of protection, if you will, to help safeguard biblical authority in the life of our churches, in the life of our convention. But it doesn't mean that women can't be engaged in ministry. We have women engaged in ministry all the time. And we do in our church at a number of different levels. We have women who are engaged in ministry at the children's level and really all throughout the various ministries of our church. They do it in a proper way, under proper authority. And so it's not a slight against women or something that's designed to ensure that only men can do hands-on ministry in the life of the church. Far from it. And our church is living proof of that. We celebrate women, we support women, and we encourage women to be involved in ministry, but within proper biblical parameters.
You mentioned it biblically, accurate or as defined by Scripture. Can you give us an example of what you mean by that statement of pastors as defined by Scripture? That's
right. Certainly the qualification for pastor, elder, overseer, as indicated by the Apostle Paul in 1 Timothy chapter 2, and then the deacons in chapter 3, clearly limit that role to men. Mm-hmm. Then you see the disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ were men, but that doesn't mean that women weren't involved in serving. Right. Women served the Lord Jesus Christ all throughout his ministry. But the disciples who became the apostolic leaders of the church were men. Now, there'll be proof texts that people on the other side will point to and say, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And I've seen those in social media. And in my mind, and sometimes even with my lips, as I read that, I'm vocalizing, well, but. I've got an answer to just about any of those biblical objections that are oftentimes raised. Kind of like the argument about eternal security, right? Mm-hmm. So there are clear passages which point to the fact that once a person is saved, that person belongs to Jesus for the rest of eternity and cannot ever again be lost. Mm-hmm. But people will go to this passage and this passage and this passage and say, what about this? What about this? What about this? And there is an answer to every single one of those, as is the case with women in ministry as well.
Mm-hmm. So your response then to some of, and again, some of the extreme statements on social media, I'm talking about a realistic conversation of someone who says, just explain this to me, because it seems like it's not fair that women couldn't be pastors. If the Lord calls them into a leadership role, a ministry role in church life, why can't a woman be ordained as a pastor? What would your response be with a genuine question like that?
Well, think of it, for example, in terms of God's, the way God has ordered authority in His creation. In every relational dynamic, there are those who are charged with the responsibility of leading, mm-hmm. and there are those who are charged with the responsibility of following. In every organizational and relational dynamic, somebody's got to lead. And God has typically ordained male leadership, not only in the church, but in the family. Mm-hmm. So you go to Ephesians 5, and it's very clear that the husband is the authority in the home. Mm-hmm. Wives are to voluntarily subject themselves to the God-given authority in their husbands. It's called biblical submission. It's a 4-letter word in the culture, but it's a beautiful word in terms of how God orders and organizes both organizations and and relationships to function. Mm-hmm. And so wives voluntarily recognize the God-given authority that the husband has, and they voluntarily submit themselves to it in the same way that all of us submit ourselves to the authority of Jesus Christ mm-hmm. for life and leadership. And of course, with respect to the church, it is radically inconsistent to think that God's going to have an authority structure one way for the home mm-hmm. and something completely different for the church, when the church is the body of Christ and where the home is basically patterned after God's authority structure in the church. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ does the church. Yeah. And gave himself up for it. Yeah. And then Paul roots that in creation. Mm-hmm. And that's how you know it's not a cultural thing. Yeah. He goes all the way back to the beginning and brings out Adam and Eve, as he does with respect to the whole issue of women and their, how should I say it? I'm going to be careful about the use of words. Yeah. But there's a passage that basically says that a woman should be silent in the church. That doesn't mean she should never open her mouth, but it simply means that there is a proper ordering in terms of how things function as designed by God. Mm-hmm. And in that context, Paul roots it in the doctrine of creation. And this is how we know it's not subject to changing cultural mores or changing cultural fads. This is the way God has designed it. So there is a consistent order of authority in the home, and the same order of authority functions in the church. It's radically inconsistent to think that there'd be one order for the home and a different order for the church.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, to clarify a little bit, some people think maybe we debated this or talked about this for 2 straight days, and this is all we did at the Southern Baptist Convention. What are some of the highlights for you, or some of the other positives that you see, taking place when we gather this year?
And I was talking with Dr. Brian Barlow, just a few minutes ago, and he asked me to write up a little summary of the convention. So those of you that get by email Doc Barlow's Missions newsletter, we'll put some of this down in writing. You know what a highlight for me is, and I know it is for you too, is that mission commissioning service.
It always is.
Let me tell you what the rallying point for Southern Baptist is the incredible work, that's cooperative work that Southern Baptist churches do in the areas of missionary outreach and church planting. Mm-hmm. And every year at the Southern Baptist Convention, we commission a new set of missionaries to be sent out to different places all over the world. 63 of them this year. I remember 63 because it was the year I was born. But 63 commissioned missionaries. And I don't know, you may remember, but somewhere around half of those,
since about half,
going to secure countries where they can't even, there were several of them, you could see their faces, and they would come out and give a little bit of a very brief summary of their calling and where they were going and what they would be doing. Always sends cold chills up and down my spine.
Yeah.
And but then those going to secure places where their names can't be mentioned, they have to use different names at these commissioning services, and you can't even see their faces. So they get behind the silk screen, and light is projected from behind them, and all you see is this black silhouette. And you can hear them talking and giving a testimony that's devoid of a lot of specifics. But you realize the sacrifice that so many of them, young adults, but not all, some of them senior adults.
Seniors going,
who are just making a radical transition for the autumn of their days to go out on the mission field in various capacities. And so it's people of all different kinds of ages, from all different backgrounds, coming from all different kinds of churches. And so that's a highlight.
Always.
And everybody's always excited about that.
Yeah.
Then there's always reports coming from boards and agencies. Lifeway Publishing House, Lifeway Christian Resources will give a report. The presidents of all the 6 seminaries will give an update of what's happening on their campuses and give a report. The presidents of the International Mission Board and the North American Mission Board will give reports all the way up and down the line. They're accountable for their reports that are always printed in what's called a book of reports that every messenger to the convention will get. And then the floor is open to questions that anybody may want to ask. And you think, well, man, that ought to be a wild rodeo with 10, 12, 15,000 people in the room. Well, it can be.
Yeah.
So there are upwards of 3 parliamentarians on stage as the president of the Southern Baptist Convention tries to maintain order, and we have to work pretty rigidly under the auspices of Robert's Rules of Order so that things are done diligently, and there's a certain amount of time that's allotted. So debate can't go on and on and on and on and on. And so it's very effective and very efficient. Hillcrest people will be interested to know, Jim, that a president is elected to serve a 1-year term, but they're eligible for re-election. So a president can serve upwards of 2 years. Clint Presley from North Carolina, pastor of Hickory Grove Baptist Church, has been president the last 2 years. So this year was a presidential election year. And Dr. Willie Rice was elected president of the Southern Baptist Convention for 2026, 2027, and he'll be up for re-election for 2027, 2028. There was another candidate who ran from the state of South Carolina, but Dr. Rice, who is a former pastor at Hillcrest.
He preceded you here at Hillcrest.
He preceded me at Hillcrest, was elected with, I think, 57% of the vote, so pretty overwhelming majority. And, you know, those of us that know Willie did great work for the 7 years that he was at Hillcrest and has become a very good friend. I'm very close with Willie, know him well. And he's kind of one of those guys that's kind of built for this role.
Yeah.
I would have no interest in it.
You keep saying that. We're going to keep nominating
No. So. There are some things I enjoy doing at the denominational level, and I'm involved in the denominational level, but that's a horse of a different color. But he's kind of built for it.
Yeah.
Those who know Willie personally know that he's really a hard charger and has the best interest of the Southern Baptist Convention in mind. I really believe that with all of my heart, and I think he'll be a force for good in these next 2 years, to be sure. So kudos to him. You got a chance to see him out in the hallway. after he was elected and spoke with him for a few minutes. And I'm sure at some point along the way, we'll have the president of the Southern Baptist Convention make a return trip to Hillcrest and speak to our people. But we salute him and are very thankful. That's a handful of things. There were a few other things that happened, a few other items of business that took place as well.
Yeah,
Hillcrest was represented well.
I want to give us one other name.
Who's that?
Hillcrest was represented. Mark Green.
Oh my gosh! I almost forgot about that. I wish I had brought that book of reports in here.
I've got it. You keep talking.
Go over there and get it. This is an amazing thing because we no sooner get that than coming around here. Let me just hold that up there. See if you can see it. There we go, right there. Now, this is an ad for Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. And if you can see the T-shirt, it's a Florida Southern Baptist Relief T-shirt. Well, that's Mark Green.
That's Mark Green, one of our Spanish Trail members.
Yeah. A member over at the Spanish Trail campus. And so this is the book of reports that every voting messenger receives that has all the facts and figures, has all the written reports of all the boards and agencies, financial data, the upcoming cooperative program budget for this next year of the Southern Baptist Convention. Proposed budget is in here. The seminary's budgets are in it. Everything, all the facts and figures. And right here on the back is Mark Green. And I forget who it was. We had a group text, all of our messengers. We sent 12 messengers plus 2 visitors, 2 guests came from his. We had 14 people that were associated with Hillcrest who were there. And so this was passed around through that group text. Look who's on the book of reports. And it was Mark Green. So then we walk into the convention center, which is massive, and this huge banner hanging down. And it's Mark Green.
It was like 50 feet
on the
tall.
banner.
It was massive, and it was just giant Mark. And he's larger than life anyway.
So Hillcrest was hugely represented nationally at the Southern Baptist Convention through our active participation and involvement with Florida Baptist / Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. And so kudos to Mark Green. I will have him autograph my book of reports. I guarantee it. I'm going to make a special trip over the Spanish Trail just to get him to sign my book. And I know you will, too.
I saw him yesterday.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah, you were preaching over there yesterday.
Yeah, it was so great. And his wife, Kathy, I said, you're married to a celebrity now. You know this is a new life for you.
She probably rolled her eyes.
She laughed. She said, I heard about that. And he was, of course, he's super humble and just,
very modest man.
He's not, a headline-seeking guy. And so he was like, oh, my goodness. So
that was a welcome surprise right at the very onset of the meeting itself. Yeah,
that was good. We have a few minutes left, and I wanted to clarify. You mentioned the autonomy of the churches and the Southern Baptist Convention, kind of the way that's put together. And so let's say that something comes out at one of the future conventions, and it's something that you, as senior pastor here, and with wise counsel, it just doesn't seem right. Let's just say something off the wall happens at the Southern Baptist Convention. They vote something in that you deem is unbiblical. We have the ability to withdraw ourselves from the Southern Baptist Convention.
We do.
If there were ever something that would come up that we just say, I don't think that's biblical. I don't agree with that. We'd still be Hillcrest, but we just almost step aside from the SBC, and then we're on our own kind of thing. And is that structure intentional? Is it put together that way for the ability of churches? Because it's a cooperative program. You mentioned that a couple of times. We agree to cooperate together with all these thousands of other churches for the betterment of the gospel. And so we have that right to change should we deem it necessary. How does that make us, again, kind of stand out and stand alone?
Well, one of the central tenets of being a Baptist is local church autonomy. Mm-hmm. In other words, every local church is individually autonomous. It owns its own property. It selects its own pastoral leadership. Mm-hmm. Nobody outside of Hillcrest itself tells Hillcrest what it can and cannot do.
Right.
Now, there are some requirements of being an accepted part cooperatively of the Southern Baptist Convention. You have to basically adhere to the and operate according to the structure of the Baptist Faith and Message, which is our statement of faith. So we've adopted the Baptist Faith and Message as our statement of faith. So that's not an issue. And then you have to contribute financially to the cooperative program. But here's the thing. I think, it's $250.
Wow.
I mean, it's not much.
Yeah.
But you have
be eligible.
To be eligible to be a cooperating. Now, we give, almost $500,000 to cooperative program ministries that goes to support missionaries, plant churches, support our 6 Southern Baptist seminaries, our public policy arm in Washington, D.C., the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, and much more. So we're all in at Hillcrest. But we don't have to be. If something were to happen in the Southern Baptist Convention where they were to make decisions that impugned our ability to decide for ourselves what we think is the right decision, the right way to believe, the right way to function, the most biblical way to function, the way to handle secondary matters, so forth and so on. We don't have to be a part of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will never happen.
Right. Not
because we can accomplish worldwide so much more by working together than we ever can.
Yeah.
Trying to just do life completely on our own in our little corner of the world.
Yeah.
So we're a force for good, as Jeff Orge, one of our national leaders, is prone to say. Southern Baptists are a force for good.
Yeah.
Nearly 4,000 full-time missionaries that we support, 100%. Church planting efforts, second to none in North America, United States and Canada. Theological education, unmatched by any other religious group around the world. 6 very strong, theologically orthodox institutions at different parts of the country. So I'm proud to be a Southern Baptist.
Yeah.
But undergirding all of that is local church autonomy. We don't take our marching orders from the Southern Baptist Convention. Churches band together and provide marching orders to the Southern Baptist Convention. And that's something that everybody needs to, I think, understand and appreciate. Nothing that happened at the Southern Baptist Convention this year will change anything about the way we operate or function at Hillcrest.
Right.
I mean, not even that constitutional amendment.
Right.
We don't ordain women to the pastoral ministry at Hillcrest, never have in the 70-year history of our church. So nothing about that changes. As one person said, it's words, basically.
It's just words.
It's words that have been codified or will be codified in a formal kind of way. But, I mean, you think about it. How many of the 50,000 Southern Baptist churches, how many of the 50,000 have a woman as a senior pastor? None now.
Right.
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 But
even
even before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you could fit them in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
It was really not an issue. This is more therapeutic and future-oriented so that there's no mistaking where we stand as a people and what we believe the Bible teaches about authority and about ministry within the context of the local church.
Good. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk about that and clarify some of those things. And as Pastor Jim mentioned, if you're not sure, if you have questions, please come talk to us. Don't jump into social media fray, or don't just take your information from that. Come and find out what's actually going on. We're happy to do that. We're happy to serve you. We're a little more casual this week because we got VBS
going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got hundreds of kids running around the church this week, which is always exciting.
We like to be as the kids are.
Absolutely. Childlike faith.
That was from Sunday.
That was our sermon on Sunday.
I've got to. Well, see, I can't listen to yours, but I'm going to go back and listen to Dustin's for sure.
Good.
Appreciate you guys stepping up and doing that.
Of course. So anyway, we will do it again. Hopefully you'll join us Sunday morning here at church. Father's Day coming up. Want to take some time celebrating fathers as well, and again, all the things we have going on. So if we can help you, if we can encourage you or be a blessing, please contact us. Let us know. Other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in the locker room.